Adam Sandler noticed a crying child at the airport. The reason will break you. LAX was its usual self, loud, busy, full of motion and echoing voices. The air buzzed with boarding calls, rolling suitcases, and the muffled sounds of families, reuniting or saying rushed goodbyes. Near gate 47B, Adam Sandler stood in line for a coffee, baseball cap low over his brow and sunglasses covering most of his face. He wasn't trying especially hard to be invisible, but the crowd gave him space anyway. Most people were too busy with their own lives to notice a celebrity quietly waiting for caffeine. He didn't hear the child at first. It was just a soft sob, nearly drowned out by the hum of the airport. But as he turned with his cup in hand, the sound became clearer. Not a tantrum, not a loud cry. It was the kind of quiet, restrained weeping that suggested something deeper than a lost toy or a missed snack. Adam turned toward the noise, his eyes scanning the terminal. A boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old, sat cross-legged near a row of vending machines. His small shoulders shook with each breath. There was no adult in sight. Adam hesitated. He'd been famous long enough to know that stepping into a stranger's life in public could become a headline within minutes. But something about the kid's stillness, the way he was trying not to cry, made Adam's usual caution fall away. He walked over slowly and knelt beside the boy. "Hey, bud," he said gently, his voice low. "You okay?" The boy flinched, then looked up. His face was blotchy from crying, and his eyes, dark and wide, were filled with something Adam recognized: grief. I lost my grandma," the boy said, barely above a whisper. Adam sat back on his heels. "You mean she's not with you right now, or?" The boy looked away. "She was with me. We came here together, but she had a heart thing. She fell. They took her away. I don't know where." Adam blinked. For a second, the airport noise seemed to fade into the background. "Do you know your name, buddy?" "Max." "And your last name?" "Langston." "Okay, Max. Do you know your mom or dad's phone number?" Max shook his head. "Grandma was going to call my mom after we landed. She had all the numbers." Adam looked around. A few people were watching now, curious but not intervening. He pulled out his phone and stood up. "Hang tight, Max," he said. "We're gonna figure this out." He walked over to the nearby Delta counter and explained the situation. The agent, a young woman with a firm but kind expression, sprang into action. Within minutes, they'd confirmed that Max's grandmother had collapsed near baggage claim and had been taken by paramedics to Cedars-Sinai. No contact info had been left behind. Back at the vending machines, Max was still there, hugging his small backpack like a lifeline. "Good news, buddy," Adam said as he returned. "Your grandma's at the hospital. They're taking care of her. Now we just gotta get in touch with your mom, okay?" Max nodded slowly, but his face didn't brighten. "You want to come sit with me while we wait? I've got a window seat over there." The boy followed him without a word. They sat together, sipping apple juice and black coffee, an odd pair in the bustling terminal. Adam asked simple questions: what grade Max was in, his favorite movie, whether he liked baseball. Slowly, Max opened up. "She always took me to the movies," Max said. "We saw The Waterboy once. She laughed so hard." Adam smiled. "That one's old. You sure? She said you looked like someone who got hit in the head with a pan." Adam chuckled. She wasn't wrong. The moment stretched. For now, Max was calm, and Adam, for reasons he didn't fully understand yet, felt something shift inside him. It had been years since he'd lost someone close, but grief left echoes. Sometimes it showed up in the eyes of a child you didn't know, at an airport you almost didn't fly through. And somehow Adam knew this wasn't just a moment to help a lost boy. This was the beginning of something. An hour had passed. The terminal was still teeming with travelers, and Max had fallen asleep beside Adam, his head resting gently on the actor's hoodie-covered shoulder. Adam sat still, careful not to move too much. He hadn't planned to spend the afternoon at LAX comforting a child, but now he couldn't imagine standing up and walking away. He checked his phone again. The hospital had called back. Max's grandmother, Eleanor Langston, was in stable condition but unconscious. No ID had been found with her except a boarding pass, and the hospital was still waiting for someone to claim her. Adam had left his name with the staff and offered to stay with Max until they located his family. People had started to recognize him, subtly at first. A couple walked by twice, whispering and glancing. A teenage girl snapped a photo from across the terminal. Adam ignored it. He wasn't doing this to be seen. A Delta employee approached discreetly. "Mr. Sandler," she said in a low voice, "we contacted social services. They'll send someone, but it might take another hour." The police were informed too. "Routine. For unattended minors," Adam nodded. "That's fine. Just keep me in the loop." The woman hesitated. "Most people wouldn't have stayed." Adam shrugged. "He's a kid." When Max stirred, waking slowly, Adam reached for the juice box on the floor. "Still cold," he said, handing it over. "You sleep okay?" Max nodded, rubbing his eyes. "Did they find my mom?" "Not yet," Adam said gently. "But your grandma's at a good hospital. We'll talk to her soon, all right?" Max blinked up at him. "Why are you helping me?" It wasn't the kind of question Adam was used to from kids. He paused. "Because someone helped me once, a long time ago," he said finally, "and I never forgot." That wasn't the full story. When Adam was 10, his father had collapsed in a grocery store. A stranger had stayed with him, kept him calm, and rode in the ambulance until his mother arrived. His dad had survived, but what stuck with Adam most wasn't the emergency. It was the stranger's calm voice, the feeling that someone was there when everything felt upside down. Max seemed to accept the answer. He took a slow sip of juice, then pulled something from his backpack, a crumpled photo. It showed a woman in her 60s with a kind smile, sitting on a porch swing. Max handed it to Adam. "That's her," he said. "Grandma Ellie." Adam studied the picture. The woman looked strong but warm, the kind of person who made you feel safe. "She looks like a good hugger," he said. "She is. She calls me her little army." Adam smiled. "Why's that?" "'Cause she says, I keep her brave." The words hit harder than they should have. Adam looked away for a second, steadying his breath. He'd played dozens of roles, goofy, loud, ridiculous, but this wasn't a movie. There were no lines, no edits, just a boy trying to hold it together and a man who didn't have to be there, but was. A commotion near the gate caught their attention. 2 LAPD officers and a woman in a hospital uniform were making their way through the crowd. The nurse spotted Max and rushed over. "Max!" she said, dropping to her knees. "I'm Christina. I work with your grandma at the hospital. She's asking for you." Max's eyes lit up. "She's awake?" "She is. We got her stable and she told us to find you." Adam stood, helping Max gather his things. Christina looked at him, recognition flashing across her face. Wait, you stayed with him?" Adam gave a modest nod. "Didn't feel right to leave." She smiled, touched and surprised. "Thank you." Max reached up and hugged Adam tight. No words, just a small pair of arms wrapping around a man he'd met hours ago but would never forget. As they walked away, Max turned back. "Will I see you again?" Adam smiled. "You just might." He didn't know then how true that would be. The hospital room was quiet, except for the rhythmic beeping of monitors and the soft hum of an air vent. Ellie Langston, pale but alert, lay propped up against a stack of pillows. Her hair, streaked with grey, was pulled back, and her face bore the weary marks of the ordeal, but her eyes, when they met Max's, filled instantly with warmth. "Maxie," she whispered, arms open. Max bolted into them, burying his face in her shoulder. Ellie closed her eyes and held him as if anchoring herself to something solid. Christina, the nurse, lingered by the door, then glanced back down the hall where Adam stood waiting. "She's been asking for him since she woke up." "I think you should come in too." Adam hesitated. "You sure?" "She'll want to thank you." Inside the room, Ellie was already dabbing Max's face with tissues, checking him over with a motherly intensity. When Adam stepped in, she looked up, and for a moment, her eyes narrowed as she tried to place him. "You're the one who stayed with him," she said slowly. Adam smiled and removed his cap and glasses. "Yeah, guilty." Ellie blinked, recognition dawning. "Oh my God, you're Adam Sandler." He held up a hand. "I promise I didn't do anything funny." She laughed, but then her expression turned serious. "You kept him safe. You were with him when I couldn't be. I just did what anyone would do." "No," she said firmly. "Not anyone. Most people would have walked by." There was a pause. Max reached for her hand. "Grandma, he waited the whole time. He even made me laugh." Ellie smiled through watery eyes. "That makes two of us now." She looked tired, fragile in a way that made Adam feel uncomfortable. Life had a brutal way of humbling people, no matter how strong they were. But there was resilience too, the kind that showed in the way Ellie looked at her grandson, or in how Max had handled himself with quiet maturity. "You guys from LA?" Adam asked gently. "No, we flew in from Atlanta. Max was going to spend a week here. His mom's finishing up a work trip in Mexico. I offered to bring him early, give her a break." "And then this happened." Ellie nodded. "I felt a sharp pain in my chest by baggage claim. That's all I remember. Woke up here." "You're lucky," Adam said softly. "They said it could have gone worse. I know. And it would have if Max had been alone, or if you hadn't been there." There was a silence, not uncomfortable but heavy, with everything unspoken. "You remind me of someone," Ellie added after a beat. "My late husband. He had that calm way of talking when things got rough. People listened." Adam looked down, unsure how to respond. Compliments from strangers still caught him off guard, especially when they felt this personal. "Listen," Ellie continued, "I don't know how to thank you properly. But if there's ever anything I can do—" Adam shook his head. "You don't owe me anything, just focus on getting better." Christina stepped in. "You need rest now, Ms. Langston. Visiting hours will wrap up soon anyway." Adam stood, stretching a little. "I'll give you both some space. Max, you okay staying here a bit?" Max nodded. "I want to be with her." Adam smiled. "Good man." He turned to Ellie. "Take care, all right?" She reached for his hand and squeezed it. "Thank you, Adam, from the bottom of my heart." As he walked down the hospital corridor, past nurses and orderlies, Adam felt something he hadn't in a long time. Not just gratitude or relief, but purpose. He'd spent years bringing people joy on screens, making them laugh. But this was different. This was real. And deep down, he knew the story between him and Max wasn't over yet. 2 days later, in a quiet waiting area outside the pediatric wing of Cedars-Sinai, Adam sat thumbing through a coffee-stained magazine, mostly to avoid looking conspicuous. He'd promised Ellie he would check in before heading out to New York for a press event. The idea of leaving without saying goodbye to Max didn't sit right with him. He heard the voice before he saw her. "Max!" A woman rushed past the nurse's station, late 30s, dark hair pulled into a travel-worn bun, a canvas bag slung over her shoulder. Her face was pale with worry, eyes red but alive with urgency. Max ran to her like a shot, arms flung wide. She dropped her bag and scooped him up in a hug so tight it looked like it might never end. "I'm here, baby," she whispered over and over. "I'm here now." Adam stepped back, giving them space. A nurse approached and tapped the mother's arm gently. "Miss Langston, Ellie's awake. You can see her any time." Max's mother looked up and finally noticed Adam. There was a flicker of confusion, then realization. "You're—" she began. "Adam," he said quickly, extending a hand. "I stayed with Max at the airport until we found out what happened." Her eyes filled again, this time not from panic, but something close to gratitude. "He told me. He said you were kind. I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to," Adam said. "I'm just glad they're both okay." She stared at him a moment longer. "I'm Claire. Ellie's my mom." Adam nodded. "She's tough. Told me about your dad. Said you were the strong one now." Claire smiled faintly. "She says that, but I fell apart the second I landed in LA." Max tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, he stayed with me the whole time. He bought me juice and told me about when he was little." Claire knelt to his level. "I know, sweetie. He was our angel that day." Adam shifted uncomfortably. "I'm no angel, just in the right place at the right time." Most people wouldn't have stopped. He didn't respond. He wasn't sure what to say that wouldn't sound rehearsed. Claire stood, gathering her breath. "Can we buy you lunch, just to say thank you?" "I'd love to, but I've got a flight to catch this afternoon." Max looked visibly disappointed. "Will I see you again?" Adam crouched beside him. "Hey, you've got a big job now, taking care of your grandma, being her little army, right?" Max nodded slowly. "I'll be back in town soon. Maybe we catch a movie?" Max lit up. "Really?" Adam smiled. "Promise." Claire handed him a small card. "That's my number, just in case." He pocketed it without a glance. "Take care of each other, okay?" As he walked away down the long hallway, the sounds of the hospital faded behind him. It had started as a moment, a child, a choice. But something deeper had happened, something that refused to be forgotten. He didn't quite know what it meant, yet. Only that he wasn't done with this story. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't done with him either. 2 months later, on a warm Saturday afternoon in Los Angeles, Adam sat on a bench outside a modest single-story house in Silver Lake, the kind with a squeaky screen door and potted succulents lining the steps. He wore his usual hoodie and cargo shorts, inconspicuous unless you really knew who he was. The door opened, and Max bolted out. "You came!" Adam stood, catching the boy in a quick hug. "Told you I would." Claire appeared in the doorway, smiling. "You're right on time. He's been watching the driveway all morning." Inside, the house was modest but full of warmth, mismatched furniture, framed photos of family trips, drawings on the fridge. Ellie sat in a recliner near the window, still recovering but stronger. Her color had returned, and her voice had the same grounded strength as when Adam first met her. "You didn't have to come all the way here," she said as he stepped in. "I was nearby," Adam said casually. "Plus, I heard there's pizza." That afternoon, they ate on the back patio under a large lemon tree, the kind that made you feel like you were in someone's memory. Max told jokes, some bad, some worse, and Adam played along, pretending they were all brilliant. Ellie watched with quiet contentment, sipping tea and listening. Later, as the sun dipped lower, Claire leaned beside Adam. "He hasn't stopped talking about you," she said. "He drew this whole comic strip of Super Sandler saving the day at the airport." Adam laughed. "That's a terrible superhero name." "He doesn't care. You were there when it mattered." He paused. "You think he's okay? After everything?" Claire nodded. "Better than okay. He's resilient. But you gave him more than just company that day. You gave him a sense that people care." Adam took a deep breath, watching Max and Ellie laugh at something across the yard. "I've done a lot of things in my life," he said. "Movies, shows, tours. But this, being part of someone's real story, feels different." Claire smiled. "That's because it is." As the sky turned orange, Adam stood and called out, "Hey Max, you still want to go see that movie next week?" Max beamed. "Yes, can we bring Grandma too?" Ellie chuckled. "Only if I get popcorn." Adam grinned. "Deal." For the first time in a while, He wasn't thinking about scripts or interviews or the noise of Hollywood. He was thinking about a small boy with too much weight on his shoulders, a grandmother with a second chance, and how sometimes the smallest acts of kindness echoed the loudest. As he drove away later that evening, the sun setting in his rearview mirror, Adam felt a quiet sense of peace. Not the dramatic kind, not the kind that made headlines, just real human peace. And he knew, without a doubt, that something in him had changed for good.